Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the ISO Ball podcast with your host, Derek Terrio, your place to learn about the NBA on and off the court. Welcome to episode 2. Sorry I missed last week's episode. There was just some things going on with work and other endeavors that I had going on that I just wasn't able to create some content for you guys. But we're back at it this week. Been some interesting things that have happened since last we checked in just before the start of the start after the All Star break. So let's get right into it. No need to waste any time. Let's start off. Excuse me. Let's start off quickly with some news and injuries, mainly to some of the top teams in the NBA. And so we'll start with the top team in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors, or at least the consensus top team, I should say, and their plethora of injuries, which has people asking more questions if they didn't ask enough already. So we'll start with KD, who has a rib fracture. Anthony Slater is reporting and is going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks as of a few days ago. So not a good start, obviously, to what the Warriors had going on. And that's, again, just the tip of the iceberg because before that, we saw Steph went down with another right ankle injury, and we've seen these persist over his career. So obviously, we're hoping that this is not something that's going to persist, but you always have questions with these ankle injuries when it comes to Stephen Curry. So hopefully, he gets back soon. And then we move on to Klay Thompson, who has a fractured right thumb on his shooting hand. Uh, will be evaluated in 2 weeks as well. And this is another guy that you don't obviously want to lose, let alone losing all three of them together. But now I guess this is actually could be a blessing in disguise for the Warriors, just in the sense that all of these guys are slated to come back by playoff time, so there's no worry that they're going to miss any playoff time. But also, you get to see a lot of the second units. You're seeing a lot more of guys like Quinn Cook, Kevon Looney, more Jordan Bell would be helpful when he is healthy. Omri Caspi, Nick Young, these guys are slated to have to step up in the playoffs eventually. And so it's great that they're getting a little bit of experience now against first units and just being able to play more of the style in a more prominent role, I think, is going to help them down the stretch. So could be a blessing in disguise for the Warriors, but obviously you're concerned when it comes to these injuries, especially when you're looking at KD and how he's going to come back from something like a ribs. Klay Thompson, again, fractured thumb on the shooting hand. Very, very, very tough thing to deal with. And then Steph with those ankles, that's been a perennial thing for him. So not great news for Golden State right now, but again, could be a blessing in disguise depending on how you're going to look at something like that. Moving on to Boston now. Again, I mentioned most of the top teams are the ones with injuries. Marcus Smart is dealing with a similar injury to Klay Thompson, except he's going to need surgery. 4 to 8 weeks is the recovery time, so it's looking like he's going to return middle of the playoffs. And that's big for Boston, I might add, just because this is obviously one of your best perimeter players. Just the way he can switch out, be a very tough defender in the post, really body up on guys, and you can really throw him at your perennial all stars on the other team. So going up in the first round against someone like Philadelphia, he would have been a great switch guy to throw on a guy like Embiid, or be able to defend at a high level on some of the switching, or not switching schemes per se, but at least some of the cuts and a lot of actions that Philadelphia was going to run. And I guess same with the Miami Heat in the sense that you could throw him on Goran Dragic, and it's just so many things you can do with him, which makes him so valuable. So I think maybe the series go in the first round, go one or two extra games for Boston, but those one or two extra games are crucial when you're trying to get rest for guys down the stretch. Hopefully he comes he comes back nice and healthy, but again, gonna be a big loss. Mostly in the playoffs as opposed to the regular season, just because it seems like the Raptors have got that number one seed locked up. Although they lost a wild one today against OKC, that was an absolutely crazy game. But in terms of Boston, they seem like they're comfortable in that second seed, and that's hopefully something you're going to be sticking with. And considering that as well, we'll move on to another Boston injury. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is they're saying it's just knee tendonitis and it's a day to day thing, but once again, you're seeing those knee injuries. I'm not sure if it's the same knee that he hurt in the 2015 finals, but still not good when you want to have knee injuries to your top guards. So he's looking to come back during the regular season before the playoffs, but again, not something you want to see. Gordon Hayward had a setback with his recovery. We thought this was coming along very well, and it so was. But it seems that he's had a setback described by Danny Ainge. Not exactly sure what the setback was, but Now he mentioned that he's progressing more on the normal path of what they thought when he went down with the injury 5 minutes into the regular season. So he's back sort of on that path, and I guess that kind of closes the book for him coming back in the playoffs. Or at all this season, and I really didn't think that that was a smart idea to begin with. So I'm glad that they can finally close the book on that now, because I don't think that's something that they wanted hanging over their head per se. Sticking with Boston here as well, Jaylen Brown had a nasty face plant off what was a great play, a dunk that he just held onto the rim a little too long and ended up just face planting on the floor. I can't remember what team it was, what game he played, but just face planted right on the floor. Really, I think had a fractured bone in his face or a concussion or something along those lines. He's been out, it seems, indefinitely ever since, with no timetable for return, but he does seem to be doing better on a day to day basis. Hopefully he'll get back soon, but a very scary injury when you saw it for the first time. He was down for quite a while. Prayers up for Jaylen Brown, but I think he'll be back soon as well. And then hopefully Boston can have some consistency going down the stretch when they get all their guys together, nice and healthy, and maybe can do a number on some teams going down the stretch just to get the rhythm into the playoffs. So hopefully that's what they're looking to do with all these injuries. Getting on to the better side of injuries, Kevin Love had a hand issue. I think it was a fractured hand. He's set to come back before the end of March, which is good. Cleveland needs all the time they can get to develop some chemistry with their core group now that they have Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, all these guys. So it's going to take some time to develop that chemistry. So at least they're going to get about a few games down the stretch here, about 15 games to kind of see what they got to do and get their stuff together, and hopefully they can develop some consistency. My apologies, to become one of those teams that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. And John Wall, consequently, has been doing some 5-on-0 drills as well, so he's slated to get back quite soon. I'm told, not I'm told, I should say, I read before the playoffs. So looking forward to John Wall's return as well, and interesting to see how they integrate him, just considering how well Washington has been doing without him in terms of moving the ball, letting Bradley Beal really be that primary scorer, and the resurgence, I shouldn't say the resurgence, but the development, at least, of Thomas Satoransky, who has been a defensive force all over the place for Washington. So interesting to see how that gets back. So glad we're all finished with the injuries, I guess. But we move on to some news here. The Bucks have signed the guy they drafted a while back, Brandon Jennings, to a 10-day contract, and actually had a near triple double in the first game that he played on his way back. That was quite interesting. Had a bit of a dud on his next game, but good to see Brandon Jennings back in the league. I know a bit of a guy that gambles a little too much at times, maybe too a little erratic with his dribbles and stuff like that. But really, a guy you can throw out there on your second unit and count on his energy and to bring some spark back into that second unit, be it whether it be his scoring or even his defensive play at times, getting in the passing lanes and things like that. So that's very cool to see that he's back in the league. And the Jazz have signed guard David Stockton, young son of John Stockton, Jazz legend, to a 10-day contract. So considering where the Jazz are, that as well is something that's kind of piquing my eye. So I'm going to keep my eye on what's going on over there in Utah, considering their plans for young David Stockton. Moving on, let's talk about some of the worst teams. We touched on this in the last pod, but this tank race has really kind of taken off, and it's kind of interesting to me. I don't want to touch too much on the bad teams, but just a little bit here. The teams in the tank race that really have something to play for are Phoenix, Dallas, Chicago, Memphis, Atlanta, Sacramento, and Orlando. Now Brooklyn is in that too, but Brooklyn doesn't even have their pick this year, so they're just losing because they're not good. They're not good. They're not actually losing because they're trying to lose, as opposed to some of these other teams where it could be argued that's that way. So Adam Silver has made it very clear that he does not like what these teams are doing, and he has had a remedy to that. Now, next year, I believe, I should say that this year is the last year where the number one team has the best chance of winning the draft lottery. Going forward is going to be the final three teams have an equal chance of winning the draft lottery. So to some of the people that don't really understand the draft lottery of the NBA or how that works, the team that comes in last place naturally has the best chance to pick the first young talent coming out of whether that be Europe, used to be high school, no longer, or the NCAA, and has their first pick at that talent, which is usually and the team is hopeful at least that it turns into some sort of generational talent that will help their team prosper in the future. So that is the thinking. This year, that talent looks like it's Luka Doncic, but no need to get into that as of right now. So these teams, when it gets down to after the All-Star break and you know that you're not going to be in the playoffs and you see how the math kind of works out, you have what's called an agency problem between the coaches and the coaches and the players on one side and management on the other, because the coaches and the players are playing and coaching for their jobs. Like David Nwaba is a perfect example on the Bulls. Like that is a guy that doesn't want to lose basketball games. He wants to contribute to winning because he wants to gain a contract and gain some stability with a team. Whereas Garth Brooks and John Paxson want the team to lose because, again, we're going to get that draft pick. So you have a bit of an agency problem within the team, and sometimes that actually does help mask some of the intentional losing, if you want to call it. But it's quite interesting because we've never seen this, well, to my knowledge anyway, we've never seen this many teams actually losing. It's almost 30% of the league that's trying to lose. And I think that that is kind of plays out because of the way the league is structured right now, with how good the good teams are and how bad the bad teams are. I mean, let's face it, the Golden State Warriors, everybody is trying to beat them, and if you're not trying to beat them, then you're trying to lose. There's no in the middle at this point in juncture, or at least that's how teams see it. That's how Houston approached it in terms of they saying if you're not in the arms race, then you're not in the race at all, and so it's clear that some of these teams are taking this time to rebuild smartly, waiting out the Warriors' kind of run here, and hopefully they can gain something moving forward. And Boston is doing an epitome job of this, where they're actually able to compete now, but also have assets they can use to move forward for the future. So interesting dynamic with the tank race. Again, just wanted to mention it very quickly. But let's get into two of the more interesting things here. And there's just two teams I want to touch on, and those two teams are the Portland Trailblazers and the New Orleans Pelicans. And I want to touch on Damian Lillard and Anthony Davis. So I want to start with Portland. Since the All-Star break, Portland has been on an 11-game winning streak. This team has been absolutely incredible. Some of their advanced statistics: offensive rating 109.6, defensive rating 98.4. That is impressive. For this Blazers team, especially when you consider that two of the high minute guys in CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard are not touted for their defense, which means it seems that Terry Stotts is buying into a system, creating some, and even Yusuf Nurkic to in a sense is not a stout defender, but the system that they're playing in, they're buying into the defensive principles, and that's always great to see. And their net rating is 11.2, which is at the top of the league. So just absolutely been incredible there. Great to see them succeeding, and that's just the team. But the real story has been Damian Lillard, and I mean, this guy is one of the top guards in the league, and we make the argument that we don't talk about him enough, but I think we do. I think he gets his shine. He's an unbelievable player. Again, post All-Star break on this 11-game winning streak, 29.9 points a game. That's almost 30 points a game, shooting about 20 shots a game. So he's only shooting about 42.5%. But you go to the 3-point game, and he's shooting 40% on 10 attempts a game over the last 11 games. That is incredible. 40% on 10 attempts. That's 4 out of every 10 shots. Absolutely unbelievable. 87% from the line, 4.5 rebounds a game, 6.6 assists, and that's just the traditional metrics. Getting into some of the advanced statistics is where he really starts to shine. So 110 offensive rating, 97.9 defensive rating. So you can see that it's not a fluke. He actually is on the floor when the Blazers are defending at a high level. 12.5 net rating when he's on the floor. What else do we have here? 32% usage rate, and he's shooting 60% true shooting. Unbelievable. When you consider the league average is about 55 over these last 11 games. 60% true shooting. So the shooting is there. He's been playing at an MVP type level, which deserves to be talked about. And so I think that this is great for Portland. They're really showing that they can become a threat when it comes down to it. They're going to be a threat in the playoffs. They're not going to be a team that you want to see if you're a 6 seed, assuming that they wrap up to 3. And it's going to be tough, and it's all being led by Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I want to give CJ McCollum his due as well, but mainly Damian Lillard is one of the reasons they're playing so well. And it's been an incredible revelation for him. So shout out to Damian Lillard. Really had to throw his name in there because I think he really deserves it, especially with his play over the last 11 games. And the Blazers have won 17 of their last 18 games. that is unbelievable. So big time shout out to the Blazers and Damian Lillard. Now over to the Pelicans and Anthony Davis. Again, we'll get some of the advanced statistics here since the All-Star break for the Pelicans. So Pelicans have played 12 games, 106 offensive rating, 105 defensive rating for a .9 net rating. So clearly not defending at a high level. Again, 105.7, but just doing their best to outscore teams since the All-Star break. To be honest, their statistics haven't been that great, but it's really been Anthony Davis that has propelled this team into this cluster of teams that from 3 till 8, I think, is only separated by a few games, and so you're jumping up and down the roster, or not the roster, but the conference standings, because it's so tight. So every loss and every win is just absolutely crucial. But getting into Anthony Davis here, again, absolutely incredible. In the 11 games after the All-Star break, 37 minutes a game. He's got a 109 offensive rating, 104 defensive rating. 58% true shooting, which is very good, and 32.6% usage rate. So they're putting the ball in his hands and they're saying, hey, you have to do something with it. You're the only guy now that Cousins has gone out. And Drew Holiday has made some effects as well, but mostly just Anthony Davis, highlighted by that 53.17 rebound, 5 block game that he had. Absolutely ridiculous from him. Getting into more of the traditional statistics, since the All-Star break, 30 points a game, shooting 23 shots, shooting about 50%, not shooting the three particularly well, only 25% on 3 attempts per game, so not that well there. 90% from the free throw line, though, which has been excellent. 13 rebounds a game, about 2 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks since the All-Star break. Absolutely incredible. So, again, has the Pelicans right in the running. And hopefully he can lead this team to more than just a playoff loss in the first round, which is all he's done. He's never won a playoff game as great as he's been throughout his career. So hopefully Anthony Davis is looking to take a big step here and really put the team on his back, because I think he knows that he has to, and I think that everybody believes that he can, if we're being honest about it. So looking forward to see what Anthony Davis does down the stretch as well as in the playoffs. Now, to the final topic of today, I want to get into this Kawhi situation, because this Kawhi situation has a lot of moving parts and a lot of aspects that I think are just very interesting for an organization like the Spurs to be doing this, as well as an individual like Kawhi. There's just a couple things that I really have to kind of get into. So let's start with the big picture on Kawhi. So let's break down who Kawhi Leonard is. Kawhi Leonard right now is a unanimous, I think, top 5 player in the NBA, considering what he did last year and what was coming on in previous years. The shooting, we knew, was the only thing he had to work on, and boy, did he ever work on the shooting. His percentages, I think he shot 48% last year, which is excellent, and shot, I think, almost 40% from downtown as well, if not more. So we see that the shooting came around, and we already knew about his defensive ability. Back-to-back defensive player of the year in 14-15 and 15-16, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or it could have been the year before. My apologies if I messed that one up. But we know what he can do on the defensive end, arguably the best defensive player in the NBA. But he's quiet. He doesn't have to say a lot. He doesn't express a lot of emotion on the court. When Pop says something, he listens. He doesn't argue. And so that's what makes this kind of situation so interesting to me, because he's never in controversy. He's the elite two-way guy that he is, and he's just never outspoken, very emotionless. Even when we get a smile out of Kawhi, it makes the news. Like that's the level that he's on when it comes to this sort of stuff. And so here we get into the controversy. So that the quad issue has been bothering him. He had the surgery. Doctors have cleared him, but it seems that he's still experiencing pain. And I think Kawhi is now upset with the way that the Spurs have handled his recovery from this injury, because it's clear that he's still in pain, but the doctors have cleared him. So either something messed up in the surgery, because he's not lying. Kawhi Leonard loves basketball. He would play if he wants to, but he clearly is in pain. And there's been a disconnect there. That has clearly created a disconnect. And now if you're Kawhi Leonard, you have a tough decision to make. Okay, you've only come back for about 9 games this year, and you didn't look that particularly well. Now you risk yourself coming back for another 12 games to try and help the Spurs fuel their playoff run, because right now, if the season ends today, I believe the Spurs would not be in the playoffs, which is absolutely shocking. So if you're the Spurs, you want Kawhi to play because you want him to help you down the stretch to see, hey, so let's see if we can make the playoffs. But if you're Kawhi Leonard and your deal is up and you have an opportunity to make the new Supermax, which the NBA PA put it in their new CBA contract, where essentially because Kawhi Leonard has had a specific tenure with the Spurs and played for the team for a certain amount of time, the CBA essentially put in what is called a supermax, which is incentivizing players to stay with their own team, so we don't see the Kevin Durant going to Golden State when they've won 73 games and things of that nature. They tried to prevent that by putting in this supermax deal, which allows the team that drafted them or the team that they've stayed with to give them the most money so that they will stay even longer. It incentivizes loyalty essentially. So Kawhi is up for the supermax, and if you're Kawhi Leonard, you don't want to go back out there and play bad, and because you're in pain, and then the Spurs use that as leverage against you in negotiations when you're going up for the supermax. And then here's the other side of things. Jordan Brand and Kawhi have had some clear issues. There have been some clear issues with Kawhi and Jordan Brand. And so now Jordan Brand is questioning whether or not they want to bring back Kawhi. So now if you're Kawhi, if you're thinking financially, hey, I'm not getting that Jordan Brand money and I'm up for the Supermax. If you miss out on both of those revenue income streams, if you're Kawhi Leonard and his agent, you just cannot let that happen. That's not something you can allow to happen. So it's a tough decision coming up for Kawhi Leonard and as to whether or not he even wants to play. Even if he's fully healthy and good to go, would you risk putting 14 games of your rusty self out there and then the Spurs turning back and say, hey, we're using this as leverage to tell you you're getting not the Supermax, you're getting a notch under it, or we're not giving you that 5th year on your deal, or something along those lines, or you're not getting that no trade clause, something along those lines. That's detrimental for Kawhi Leonard. So he has a big decision to make, and it can go the other way too. Maybe if Kawhi Leonard comes back and he plays very well for those 14 games, then he solidifies his opportunity to get that big time money, and then he can kind of make his decisions. And then the Jordan Brand thing isn't hanging over him as much because he can go and pursue other shoe companies without having to worry about money being something that he needs going forward. So very interesting situation about Kawhi. Really touches on a lot of places here. And and also something we should probably get into is when it comes to shoes, can Kawhi Leonard sell sneakers? I mean, we talked about how emotionless he is and how he really doesn't necessarily appeal to the average fan because he's not demonstrative. He's not the fashion icon of Westbrook. He's not the guy who you can see the beard and he's got an image like Harden. You don't have the philanthropy and the outspokenness of LeBron James, or the kind of villain character that you get in Kevin Durant. All these guys have some sort of kind of moniker attached to them where you can use that to kind of leverage their brand and grow them. But Kawhi Leonard really hasn't shown anything along those lines from a marketing perspective. And so if you're Jordan Brand, you have to question, is Kawhi Leonard going to sell his shoes? And if you're Kawhi Leonard, you're saying, hey, if Jordan Brand doesn't want me, I should probably go somewhere else. But you got to think that a lot of these brands are probably thinking the same thing as Jordan Brand in the sense that, is Kawhi Leonard going to help me sell sneakers? So just from the marketing standpoint and how the shoe deal kind of ties into the contract negotiations, if you're Kawhi and his agent, kind of everything kind of encompassing together as to whether or not he should play these last 14 games, the whole situation is just very weird and kind of makes the Markelle Fultz situation look normal, if we're being frank about it. Because at least Markelle Fultz, or at least some of the videos we've seen, his jump shot is at least improving a little bit. So we're not totally lost like we were before on his jump shot. But Kawhi Leonard, this is just very weird. Something of the likes that I've never seen before as well. So we've reached the end of episode 2. Bit of a shorter episode this week. Again, I do apologize, especially considering I missed last episode. But we're going to try and get some more people in here. I know Nick was supposed to come on last Saturday. He had some stuff to do as well, so I do apologize there. But we're looking on, getting some theme music and stuff like that, getting onto more platforms. If you do have any questions, please, you can feel free to tweet at me at ISO_ball_pod. So you can search that up and tweet questions, and I will actually answer them, which will be perfect because I have absolutely 0 so far. So if you do submit a question, I will be sure to answer it on the next pod or any future pods that I have. So expect one next Sunday. We'll go over some stuff. Hopefully we can do some ranking stuff like that. I like the way that Nate Duncan and Daniel Leroux have set up they even do a management ranking pod, let alone to ranking all those 5 positions. So hopefully I can get into something like that, or maybe ranking the top 10 players in the NBA, which they just did too. So we'll think of some content that might be interesting. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys hear you guys on the next pod. Stay tuned and let me know if there's anything you guys want to see. Obviously, we're still growing, so we'd love to try and